Hare Krishna. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Chakshurumilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare
Krishna
Hare
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 Rama
Hare
Rama
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 Hare
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 Hare.
Hare Krishna. So, welcome back to Wisdom of Bhagavad Gita. We are still on second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, which is the contents of the Gita summarized. Until now, we have covered up to verse number 53 of the second chapter. So, last week we were talking about verse number 47 to 53. And that entire section is talking about nishkama karma yoga. So, how we can do our work, and while doing our work, we should be detached from the result of the activities that we are doing. And the result we should offer to the Supreme Lord Krishna, and that is called nishkama karma yoga. If you are not offering it to the Supreme Lord, then it doesn't become yoga. If you remember, some time back, we have talked about that yoga means connecting the Atma to the Supreme Lord, the soul to the Supreme Soul, which is the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna. So, if we are doing work and we are not attached to the result of the work, but we are not offering the result to Krishna, it is just nishkam karma. But when we do offer, like we offer the results to Supreme Lord Krishna, then it becomes nishkam karma yoga. So we started from this verse, verse number 47, where we talked about karmanne vadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phala heturbhur mate sangostu akarmani. And mainly that verse was summarizing the nishkam karma yoga in one verse. It mentioned to us what we should do and what we should not do when we do nishkam karma yoga. So what we should do, we have the right to do our duty. So we should keep doing our duty. But there are three things we should not do. The first is we should not be attached to the result. Second, we should not be thinking that I'm the cause of the result. I have done it. So do not claim the credit for it. And the third thing we should not do is that not give up the work. The thinking that I'm not going to get the result, or I'm not supposed to be attached to the result. I'm not even supposed to claim the credit of the result, credit of the activity. Then why should I do the activity? Let me give up the activity. No, Krishna says you cannot do that as well. So you have to keep doing the duty that we are supposed to do. And this is possible when we are equanimous, like we have this equanimity towards the good and the bad, the success and the failure. And Krishna says that such equanimity is yoga. And then he goes further and says yoga karma sukaushalam, where he is mentioning that do the work in a way that we do not get entangled in the results. And if we do the work in such a way, then that kind of work is yoga. Then he actually went further and he mentioned that our intelligence should be fixed on the spiritual path. In the 53rd verse, he said, Samadhav achala buddhis tada yogam avapsasi. So if our intelligence is completely fixed on samadhi or Krishna consciousness or self-realization, mainly on the spiritual activities, then that kind of activity or that steady mind or steady intelligence is yoga. So here Arjuna became a little bit curious. What is this person in this verse 53 that Krishna is talking about, where he's saying Samadhav Achala Buddhis? Achala Buddhi. Achala means fixed. Chala means very unsteady. It is moving. And Achala means fixed, sthir. And Achala Buddhi. Buddhi means intelligence. So who is this person with steady intelligence? And how does this person look like? What are the symptoms? If there is a such a person who's walking on the street, how do we know that this is Achala Buddhi person? So that is why he asks few questions to Lord Shri Krishna in the next verse. 4 questions he asks. And then the rest of the chapter, the second chapter, the remaining verses from 55 onwards to 71, and 72 summarizes everything. But let us say 55 to 72, that entire chapter, remaining chapter, is talking about or answering these 4 questions that Arjuna has asked Lord Shri Krishna in the verse number 54. Let us start with verse number 54 now. So there are 4 questions Lord is going to answer and Arjuna is going to ask in verse number 54. Arjuna uvacha स्थितप्रज्ञस्य का भाषा समाधिस्तस्य केशव स्थितधि किं प्रभाषेत किम आसीत व्रजेत किम. Yes, before Prabhu, please go ahead.
Arjuna said, O Krishna, what are the symptoms of one whose consciousness is thus merged in transcendence? How does he speak and what is his language? How does he sit and how does he walk? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So 4 questions has been asked by Arjuna. So what are those 4 questions? So he's saying, Sitaprajnasya ka bhasha. Ka bhasha means he's asking a definition. How is this Sthita Prajna can be identified? What are the symptoms? What are the characteristics of this kind of a person? And Lord Shri Krishna is going to answer immediately in the next verse, 255. Then he says, Sthita Prajna se ka bhasha samadhistasya keshava sitadhi kim prabhasheta. Kim prabhasheta. So how does he respond to the ups and downs of this world, of this life? And Lord Shri Krishna is going to answer in 2.56 and 57 this question. And he said, Kim asita vrajeta kim. So Kim asita means how does he sit? Literally it means how does he sit, and Kim vrajeta means how does he walk. So Kim vrajeta means how does he walk means how is he engaging his senses. And sit means at that time the senses are restrained or not engaged. So how does he restrain his senses? So 4 things are asked. What are the symptoms or the characteristics of such a person? How does he respond to ups and downs? How does he restrain his senses? And how does he engage his senses? And we can see where Lord Shri Krishna is going to answer. So here Arjuna has used a different word though. He has asked Sthita Prajna. But if you look at the word, they are exactly same. Achala Buddhi is Sthita Prajna. Achala means sthira, and that is what Arjuna is asking, Sthita. And Buddhi means Prajna. Prajna is also Buddhi, another word. So Achala Buddhi and Sthita Prajna, they are exactly, they are referring to the same topic or the same person. And in this section, we will see that Lord Shri Krishna uses even further different words for referring to the same person. So we have seen Samadha Achala Buddhi. Then here Sthita Prajna has been talked about. Then little later in 2.56, Lord Shri Krishna talks about Sthita Dhir Muni. Again same, Sthita Dhir. Dhi means again Buddhi and Sthita. So Sthita Prajna and Sthita Dhi are same. Then Prajna Pratisthita. In 2.57, it will be referred, this person will be referred to as Prajna Pratisthita. Prajna is again Buddhi, and Pratisthita means again fixed up. So like this, with different words, the same person has been referred to. But let us not get confused. Finally, it is talking about a person whose intelligence is completely fixed on samadhi or self-realization. So we will now look at what is this person is doing and how we can identify such person. So the next verse, Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Prajahati yada kaman sarvan partha manogatan atmanevatmana tushta sthita prajnastadochate. Yes, Raghavendra Prabhuji and Mataji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, O Partha, when a man gives up all varieties of desire for sense gratification, which arise from mental concoction, and when his mind, thus purified finds satisfaction in the self alone. Then he is said to be in pure transcendental consciousness.
So Lord Shri Krishna has mentioned some symptoms. So if a person, we need to understand whether his intelligence is fixed on Krishna consciousness or spiritual activities. How can we identify? Here are the symptoms. So the first symptom is given. He has given up all varieties of desire for sense gratification, which arise from mental concoction. So it is not mentioned that he has given up all desires. It is mentioned that he has given up all the desires born of mind. So our mind is contaminated, and from that mind, the desires for enjoyment comes. And those enjoyment desires are just our sense enjoyment desires. But whereas the soul originally has the desire for serving the Supreme Lord, and those desires are fine. So that is why it is mentioned that this person who's focused on self-realization, his mind intelligence is completely fixed. He has given up all material desires which are coming from mind, and that is how then he is completely focused on the desires for Krishna consciousness. So that is the first one. Then it is mentioned that he finds satisfaction in the self alone. What is this satisfaction in the self? Most of our satisfaction or desire or happiness that we get, they come from the external source. For example, if you buy a new shirt and then you put it on, then little bit you will find that okay, the shirt is looking okay or whatever. But when you go out and your friends see you in the new shirt and they say, oh, your shirt is looking very good, or you're looking very good in this shirt, then we feel, yes, it was useful to wear a new shirt because other people have noticed it and they have appreciated that I am looking good or my shirt is looking good. So that way we are getting happiness, but that happiness is coming externally. Now, this happiness can be very short-lived because as soon as someone asks or someone doesn't even notice that you have put a new shirt, then that happiness is gone. Also, suppose someone says that, oh, how much did you buy this shirt for? And you say, I got it for $100. And then someone says, oh, just yesterday I saw that the same shop had now 50% discount and sale was going on. And the same shirt is now available for $50, not $100. Then suddenly that entire happiness that you had built is actually immediately is gone. So because the happiness is coming from the external source, we are actually dependent on someone else to say something or do something. Only then we are going to be happy. But this person is not like that. This Sthita Prajna, he finds satisfaction in the self alone. So he is getting the satisfaction from the spirit or Atma. And that is how he's satisfied. So this satisfaction is coming from inside and not outside. And this is a key difference between a materialist and a spiritualist. A materialist seeks happiness externally from outside, whereas the spiritualist seeks happiness from within. He's not dependent on other people saying something good or appreciating him, and then he or she is going to become happy. So if the service is done, in that activity itself, the person is finding happiness. So this is the main difference. So this is a very important point because we can actually look at our own life and we can check whether we are a spiritualist or a materialist. And a simple uh, measure to find out whether we are a spiritualist or materialist is if our happiness is coming from matter, then you are a materialist. And if our happiness is coming from spirit, then we are a spiritualist. So this is a simple measure that we can actually check that whether we are actually onto the spiritual path or we are still a materialist. Yes, Prabhuji? Parminder Prabhuji? You had your hand up?
Can you let's just like the short, can you give some example of like spiritual happiness as well?
Yeah, I just
Like that
mentioned,
comes from
Prabhuji.
within.
So if you are doing some service to the Supreme Lord, then it is not actually dependent on whether somebody appreciates that service. Then you are going to become happy. You are actually just going to be happy just by serving the Supreme Lord. Right? For example, if I am actually studying Bhagavad Gita and giving this lecture to, or what you're sharing some insights from Bhagavad Gita, so I'm happy in that activity itself. It doesn't matter whether Pamendra Prabhuji comes and tells me that Prabhuji, the lecture was very good or not. So it doesn't matter because the activity itself is service to Supreme Lord, and that should make us happy. Even while doing this spiritual activity, if our happiness is actually coming from the appreciation that other people are giving, then we are materialist trying to become a spiritualist. We are trying to do the spiritual activity, but our original consciousness, where our happiness was coming from outside, we are still keeping and still maintaining, which is not a good place. We have to actually give that mentality, give up that mentality, and try to become happy from within. Is that making sense from it?
Yes, Prabhuji. Perfect example, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Vibhor Prabhuji?
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Prabhuji, what would be an example of desire for sense gratification which does not arrive from mental concussion?
Yeah, I give a simple example, Vibhor Prabhuji, that the desires from mind are coming from the three modes of material nature: mode of goodness, mode of passion, and mode of ignorance, where we are either thinking that I want to actually enjoy something, or I want to take some credit for something, whatever activities I have done, or I have to actually destroy something, or the ignorance, mode of ignorance is kicking in. But the desires which are not coming from these three modes or not coming from the mind are desire of the spirit soul. And the spirit soul originally is Jivera Swarupahe Krishnera Nityadas. So the original consciousness or the position of spirit soul is to serve the Supreme Lord. So if we have a desire to serve the Supreme Lord, that kind of desire is not coming from the mind. That desire is coming from the spirit soul. That's the original desire. So that is the pure desire that we have. Okay, fine. Okay, let us move on further to the next verse. And now Lord Shri Krishna is going to answer in the next two verses, 56 and 57, Kim Prabhasheta. Prabhasheta means how he is going to respond. So let us look at that. How this Sthita Prajna responds to ups and downs of the life. So verse number 56. Dukkheshu anudvigna mana sukheshu vigata spruhaha vitaraga bhaya krodha sthitadhir muniruchyate. Yes, Mantramalam Prabhuji.
One who is not disturbed in mind, even amidst the threefold miseries, or elated when there is happiness, and who is free from attachment, fear, and anger, is called sage of steady mind. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. So Kim Prabhasheta, how does he respond to ups and downs of the world? We'll read the purport. Purport is very beautiful. All the purports are very good, but let us read this one for today. So it's a long one. So two devotees can read, half. Who wants to read? Yes, Melissa Mataji, please go ahead. And then the next half, Vikas Prabhuji can read.
The word Muni means one who can agitate his mind in various ways for mental speculation without coming to a factual conclusion. It is said that every Muni has a different angle of vision, and unless a Muni differs from other Munis, he cannot be called a Muni in the strict sense of the term.
So this is a definition of the Muni which is given. So we generally call someone Muni, this Muni or that Muni. But actually, the scriptures are saying that Muni is like a PhD holder. Like every PhD holder has to have his own thesis, and he has to have his own different research. We cannot become a PhD holder just by copying somebody else's thesis. So similarly, a Muni cannot become a Muni by just agreeing to somebody else's thoughts. He has to have his own original thoughts, then only he's called a Muni. So that means every Muni has a different thought process. But Sthitadhir Muni is not like that. So we will see now further. Yes, please go ahead, Mother.
Naso munya yasya matam na binam. But a stita de muni is, as mentioned herein by the Lord, is different from an ordinary muni. The stita de muni is always in Krishna consciousness, for he has exhausted all his business of creative speculation. He has surpassed the stage of mental speculations and has come to the conclusion that Lord Sri Krishna or Vasudeva is everything. He is called a Muni fixed in mind. Such a fully Krishna conscious person is not at all disturbed by the onslaughts of the threefold miseries, for he accepts all miseries as the mercy of the Lord, thinking himself only worthy of more trouble due to his past misdeeds. And he sees that his miseries, by the grace of the Lord, are minimized to the lowest.
So this devotee of Sthitadhir Muni is mentioned that he is very fixed. And what is he fixed in? He is fixed in Krishna consciousness. And he is not actually speculating, just like this other Munis that we talked about. Everyone has its own thoughts. But this one, the Sthitadhir Muni, is completely fixed in Krishna consciousness. And when he gets some miseries in his life, it is not that the Sthitadhir Muni or a devotee or someone who is in Krishna consciousness, he is not going to get any miseries in his life. But if he gets any miseries in his life, then what he thinks? That he thinks that it is the grace of the Lord. By Lord's grace, I have received this. And actually, I was worthy of getting much more than this. But the Lord has very mercifully has given me only a token reaction. So this is what the devotee thinks. Vikas Prabhuji, you can go ahead and finish the remaining.
Similarly, when he is happy, he gives credit to the Lord, thinking himself unworthy of the happiness. He realizes that it is due only to the Lord's grace that he is in such a comfortable condition and able to render better service to the Lord. And for the service of the Lord, he is always daring and active and is not influenced by the attachment or aversion.
So this devotee, it is mentioned that he is always fixed in his Krishna consciousness. If he gets miseries, then he thinks that I was supposed to get much more than this, but Lord has given me a token reaction mercifully. And if he is happy, again he thinks that it is the grace of the Lord. So in both happiness and distress, he is fixed. And this is very important when we are doing service of the Lord. Because when we are doing service, sometimes we will be successful, sometimes we will not be successful. So Srila Prabhupada is the best example for this. When Srila Prabhupada was trying to propagate Krishna consciousness in India before he went to the West, at that time, he was not very successful from the perspective that not a lot of people actually took up Krishna consciousness or his preaching. Because everyone in India was looking towards West and they were trying to follow what America is doing or what UK is doing. So as per his spiritual master's instruction, then Srila Prabhupada went to America. And then by Lord's mercy, then he received so many followers and so many hippies took up Krishna consciousness, and many other well-to-do people also took up Krishna consciousness. And then they actually transformed their life. And when they came back with Srila Prabhupada to India, then looking at them, then many Indians also became Krishna conscious. So he actually saw failure as well as success, but he was steady in both. When he failed in his attempt, he did not say that, oh, it is not working for me, I'm giving up. Or when he became successful afterwards, he did not say, oh, because of me it has happened. No, in both success and failure, he was equipoised and he was Krishna conscious. He was focused on the Supreme Lord and he was focused on his service. So this is a perfect example of a Sthitadhir Muni, that who is fixed up in Krishna consciousness, whether success, failure, doesn't matter. He doesn't have attachment or aversion. And let us look at attachment aversion now. Vikas Prabhuji.
Attachment means accepting things for one's sense gratification, and detachment is the absence of such sensual attachment. But one fixed in Krishna consciousness has neither attachment nor detachment, because his life is dedicated in the service of the Lord. Consequently, he is not at all angry even when his attempts are unsuccessful. Success or no success, a Krishna conscious person is always steady in his determination.
Thank you, Prabhuji, and thank you, Melissa Mataji. So we can see that this Krishna conscious person, or Sthitadhir Muni, he is always fixed in his determination, whether success or failure. And we looked at the example of Srila Prabhupada for that. And this person is free from attachment and aversion. And attachment has been explained as anything that we want to enjoy for our own sense gratification, there that attachment is there. And aversion is the opposite of that, that we are trying to give up, which is not good or which is coming in our way of sense enjoyment. Then there is aversion. I don't want this, or I want this. But in both cases, we are actually looking at what is good for me, for self. And that is what Arjuna is trying to do. He's saying that I am a Kshatriya, but I don't want to fight because everyone in front of me, they are my relatives. But if there were no relatives in front, then he would have fought and he would have done his duty. So for his own consideration, for his own sense enjoyment, he was trying to give up the duty. So Lord Shri Krishna is trying to explain to him that this is not an example of a Sthitadhir Muni or a Sthita Prajna. Sthita Prajna would do his duty without looking at success and failure, and without looking at raga, bhaya, and krodha. Raga means attachment. And when we are attached, what happens is we want something. If we get something like what we are looking for, then the greed develops. We want more. And when we get it, then we have fear that we will lose it. So attachment leads to greed and fear. And then krodha. Krodha means if suppose we want something and we do not get it, then we are going to be angry. That I wanted it somehow or the other, but still I did not get it. So that frustration will lead to anger. So this Vita, Raga, Bhaya, Krodha. Vita means to be devoid of Raga, Bhaya, and Krodha. And all starts from the attachment. So if we give up that attachment to success, failure, or the dualities of the material world, then this person can be fixed in Krishna consciousness. Yes, Devika Mataji?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I don't know much about Durvasa Muni, but from what you're talking about Sthit Pragya, it doesn't sound like Durvasa Muni was one of those.
That's correct. And that example comes in the next few verses. Durvasa Muni and Ambarish Maharaj's example comes. So let us park for that in 2-3 verses. In the example is coming. In verse number 60 and 61, Srila Prabhupada talks about Durvasa Muni and Ambarish Maharaj and explain that how Ambarish Maharaj was a Sthita Prajna, but Durvasa Muni was not. You're right. Okay, so in 56th verse, Lord Shri Krishna is explaining how does this person respond. So the first point is he's not disturbed in mind even amidst the threefold miseries, and he's free from he's not elated when there is happiness, and when he's not disturbed when there is threefold miseries, and he's free from attachment, fear, and anger. And few more points are mentioned in the next verse. So let us look at the 57th verse as well. Yasarvatran bhisnehas tat prapya shubhashubham nabhinandanti na dveshti tasya prajna pratisthita. Yes, Pamindra Prabhuji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Devika
In
Mataji,
the
your hand is
Madhya-
still up. Is that for reading or from the previous question, right? Okay. Yes. Pamindra Prabhuji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. In the material world, one who is unaffected by whatever good or evil he may obtain, neither praising it nor despising it, is firmly fixed in perfect knowledge. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So thank you, Prabhuji. So here Prajna Pratishtita is mentioned. So the same person, Sthita Prajna, is now referred to as Prajna Pratishtita, whose Prajna or intelligence is fixed, Pratishtita. And two more points are mentioned about him. What is it? He is unaffected by whatever good or evil he may obtain, neither praising it or nor despising it. So when something good comes, then he doesn't praise, or he doesn't then despise it when he uh, doesn't get it. So a good example would be a sannyasi who's begging for alms, and at some house he may get some opulent prasadam, and somewhere else people will call him beggar and ask him to go away. So he doesn't actually, in both situations, he remains steady. He doesn't give a lot of blessings to the first home where he has got opulent prasadam, and doesn't go to like the second house where he is asked to go away. He doesn't curse them. So he remains balanced. He remains fixed up. He's not getting worked up by these ups and downs in the life. So Srila Prabhupada mentions, either in this verse or the previous verse, it was mentioned somewhere that when a person is, if someone is fool, then as long as he's not speaking, like he's keeping quiet, we can't identify whether he's a fool or not. But as soon as he opens his mouth, then we know just by his speaking, how he responding to questions or whatever, we immediately identify him. So this is why this how does he respond is important. When we are speaking to someone, we can sometimes identify that he's a good person or a bad person. He's a devotee or a non-devotee. Because if a devotee is speaking, he will try to connect everything somehow or the other to Lord Shri Krishna. But if a materialist is speaking, he will talk about all these 100 things. Even Krishna conscious topic, he will find out how to remove Krishna from that topic. Right? So this is the difference. So when the Sthita Prajna is speaking or responding to either the questions you have asked, or he's responding to the life circumstances, like ups and downs which are happening in his life. By looking at that, we can understand whether he's a Sthita Prajna or not. Have you experienced that? That when you are talking to someone, we understand that someone is a devotee or not? Does anyone has any experiences like that? That just by talking to someone, we say that he looks out externally as a devotee, but he is not a devotee. Or externally, he may not be looking as a devotee, but he's like a good person. He's a devotee. Anyone has any experiences like that? Or even material experiences, not even about devotee. By talking to someone, we actually looking at how he's responding to the situations, we know that this person is a good person. Anyone has any situations like that?
I mean, sorry, I didn't put my hand up, so I started.
Yes, go ahead, no problem.
I think when you talk to some people, I may be doing it before as well, they try to talk about their blessings and what they're doing well and their family doing well, or kids doing well. Somehow they try to connect to that and show off a little bit indirectly.
Okay. Yes, good. Surananda Prabhuji?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji. I've seen many friends, relatives, even like while talking to them, will understand whether they are good or not. In general, like if conversation goes commenting about others or bringing others down, showing off, as Prabhuji said. Yeah, I can understand that. Okay, he's not that a great person. But
Yes.
and the other end, Sitadir person, like definitely I have seen many devotees like you and other devotees in the congregation, and even like when I went to Yatra, so many devotees I met, and I really feel that only about Krishna, nothing else.
Okay, very good. Vidushi Mataji?
I don't know if it's some people when they talk Prabhuji, they attribute it to themselves. So I did this, I did that, I got the job. But they forget that all the teachers that helped you get the job, or all the people that were there, or someone who smiled at you while you're going into the interview, they forget all of that. So
Yes. Yeah, as soon as someone starts speaking, we can actually start like the judgments that we try to make in our minds. They are based on how they are responding to the situation or how they are talking to us. We can know that someone is humble or someone is a gossiper or someone is like this or someone is very angry or someone is negative, someone is positive, just as soon as they start talking. Yes, Tripti?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Yeah, I have also noticed, and it's not just with others. I think it's with me also. I have the self-realization at times, like, oh, what I'm saying, what am I saying? So sometimes being passionate about stuff leads to saying stuff which is not ideal.
Yeah, very good.
And that's really like, and I can realize, like, I can see people whom I meet in the as Uma or Vidushi Mataji mentioned in the congregation when we meet, we can see the calmness in their face, and that's one example is Vikas, whom I work with, and every day, like when I interact with him, he's like so calm, and Ambarish Prabhuji, I work with you as well, so I can see that particular calmness, like no matter what troubles and or things are not moving, you're like same expression throughout. So yeah.
Oh, that's good because Prabhuji is one of the gems that we have. Excellent. And
I
the
think
reason
I think for me it's a long journey, very long journey, because I've started a couple of times and stopped. So yeah, sorry, Prabhuji.
Yeah, no, very good, Tripti Mataji. So actually, I said that have you seen it in others because it is easy to find out in others. The for ourselves, many find it very difficult to look at ourselves and find that problem in ourselves. We are very quick to find faults in others, but we are very slow in finding fault in ourselves. So that is why I said that others. But if we start realizing it in ourselves, that what faults that we have, and then we can see the gap between us and the Sitidir Muni, then that is the 50% job done, because we already now know and are conscious that these are the problems that I have to work upon. These are my strengths. This is what Lord Krishna has given me as strengths, and these are the problems that I have, and this gap I want to cross. Once we identify them, then have the jobs done, and then Lord Shri Krishna will help us to cross the remaining gap very soon. So that was a good insight. Okay, let us move on. So the last point mentioned here, he's firmly fixed in perfect knowledge. So such a person is a Sthitadhir Muni, or whose prajna is pratishtita. He is fixed his intelligence. Then Lord Shri Krishna is now answering the next question, Kim Asita, how he restrains his senses. So we are talking about that he is unaffected by the good or evil, or he is not interested in sense enjoyment, or he is engaging his senses in Krishna consciousness. All of this is there. But suppose some sense objects are in front of you, then how this person is restraining his senses in that situation? How does it work? So Lord Shri Krishna says in the next verse. We are on 58. Yada samharate chayam kurmonganiva sarvashah indriyani indriyarthebhyas tasya prajna pratisthita. Who wants to read the translation? Yes, Vidhi Mataji. You're on mute.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Mataji.
One who is able to withdraw his senses from sense objects, as the tortoise draws its limbs within the shell, is firmly fixed in perfect consciousness.
A very nice example is given here. Thank you, Mataji. That Lord Shri Krishna is saying, how do we actually restrain ourselves? It is just like tortoise. When your tortoise sees danger, what does tortoise do? He just withdraws all the limbs within the shell and he goes into the protection. So if there is a danger that he sees, he takes the senses inside, and that is how he protects himself. So how we can apply as a tortoise, if we see that there are some things that we are trying to avoid. Say suppose someone is trying to give up smoking or trying to give up non-vegetarian food or trying to give up alcohol, then there is no point in hanging out with someone who's smoking or going to a restaurant to eat where non-vegetarian food is available, or hanging out with friends who are drinking or going to a pub, because there your senses and the sense objects are too close. You will not be able to restrain and control yourself. If for a person who's trying to give up smoking, if other friends he sees that they are smoking, he'll say, oh, that's fine, let me do it. Or if you go to a restaurant and you are hungry and you like to eat non-vegetarian food and you are trying to give it up, but if you go to a restaurant where it is available, then automatically you are going to get attached and you are going to attracted to it. So the first thing that is mentioned here is that if you want to control your senses like a Sthita Prajna, then you have to remember the tortoise, how the tortoise is controlling himself. So for a Sthita Prajna, like the tortoise is looking at the danger and then controlling. For a Sthita Prajna as well, or a practicing devotee who's trying to become a Sthita Prajna, for him, the sense objects are danger. So he's not yet achieved that control over his senses. And the senses will immediately get attracted towards the sense objects. So what he has to do, as soon as there is danger, he should withdraw himself from there. So he should go away from the sense objects as much as possible, just like the tortoise is doing. So the first thing, it is mentioned how to control the senses or how to restrain ourselves is like a tortoise. And there are few other verses, like from 58 to 63, there are various other points Lord Shri Krishna mentions. This is a very important topic for a practicing devotee. And that is why Lord Shri Krishna has spent a little bit more time and more points have been mentioned here. Pamendra Prabhuji, you have a question? Or you have raised a hand for reading the next one?
Reading Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Okay, reading, fine. So let us go to the next one. 59. Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehina rasavarjam rasopyasya param drushva nivartate. Yeah, please go ahead, Prabhuji. Pamendra Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. The embodied soul may be restricted from the sense enjoyment, though the taste of sense objects remain. By ceasing such engagement, by experiencing a higher taste, he is fixed in consciousness.
Yeah, so in this verse, Lord Shri Krishna is explaining that if you just try to restrain yourself, you will fail. For example, if a child is having a mobile phone in his hand and he's just enjoying that, whatever some YouTube thing is going on or something is going on, and you try to take away the mobile phone from a phone from a child who's enjoying the phone. If you take it away, then he's going to cry and make like throw a lot of tantrums. But for the same child, if you give another interesting toy, which is going to give him higher pleasure than the mobile phone in his hand, then he's ready to give up the phone and take the toy in his hand. So that is the higher taste. Or the other example is, sometimes the children eat like the dirt they eat outside. And if the mother wants to actually give them or ask them to stop doing it, then there is no point in just saying that don't eat, don't eat, don't eat. No, you have to give him some gulab jamun or something interesting to eat, and he will think that, oh, this is better than the dirt that I am eating. So let me actually go for this one. So this higher taste has been mentioned. So it is difficult to give up or restrain the senses or give up the sense enjoyment if we do not get the higher taste. And this higher taste we can get by engaging our senses in Krishna consciousness. If we do not do that, then it is very difficult. It is mentioned in the purport by Srila Prabhupada that therefore restrictions are there for the less intelligent neophytes in the spiritual advancement of life. But such restrictions are only good until one actually has a taste for Krishna consciousness. When one is actually Krishna conscious, he automatically loses his taste for pale things. So in the beginning, people can actually try to control, sense control. But once you develop the higher taste in Krishna consciousness or activities of Krishna consciousness, then you don't have to actually restrain or restrict yourself. It happens automatically because you lose the lower taste and you actually always go for the higher one. So for example, personally, I had a lot of interest in reading, and I used to read lots of novels. So I would always have some book in my hand like that. But for now, many years, I haven't read any novel, but I have read the scriptures a lot. So just by getting the higher taste, now the lower taste is gone. I'm no longer interested in reading the novels or some like those books previously that I used to read. But I have now a lot of interest, and I have seen many devotees like that. Devotees maybe actually in the beginning they may be listening to a lot of movie songs, but such devotees have now got a higher taste of hearing kirtans. And I actually see some of them are continuously hearing various different kinds of kirtans or lectures. So they are engaging their senses now in higher taste. So the hearing sense they are using now for listening to kirtans, or the reading, that eyes that they had, they are now using for reading scriptures, or the eyes they are using for taking darshan of the Supreme Lord, and the working senses they are using for doing some services. So actually, let us go to the 61st verse a little later, and there we will read a paragraph which will give very interesting Ambarish Maharaj's example how he used to use his senses. Tripti Mataji, you have some question, or you have raised the hand for reading?
I had a question, but
Yeah, please
if
go
you
ahead.
are okay, you did mention about to phrase it, how do we make sure if we let go of all this senses and go for the higher taste, won't we be cut off from what our children do, and they want to tell us, no, I don't want, like music or books, what they get into, and if we don't get involved, how are we going to connect with them? If
Yeah, very good question. We can also connect them to kirtans.
that's
Yeah,
the fear
because
which I have actually. If I do this, how will I be able to connect to other things? Will I have to disconnect myself from the worldly stuff to be a part of this? So that's the fear.
yeah, no, that's a very good question, and it is answered by Srila Prabhupada in verse number 63. Hopefully, we can go there today. So let us park that question a little bit for a little while, and then I'll try to go there and answer that. Okay. So let's move on to the next verse, which is verse number 60. Yatato hyapi kaunteya purushasya vipashchitah indriyani pramathini haranti prasabham manah. Yes, Sanyas Prabhuji or Lavanga Mataji, please read.
The senses are so strong and impetuous, O Arjuna, that they forcibly carry away the mind even of a man of discrimination who is endeavoring to control them.
So here the danger has been mentioned that so if we just try to control the senses without getting higher taste, what can happen? So that has been mentioned. So even a person with discrimination and endeavor can find it difficult. So controlling the senses without getting higher taste is very difficult. So that has been referred here. So it is not like someone who is not trying to control. He's a vipashchita. Vipashchita means full of discriminating knowledge. So he has higher knowledge. He understands that I'm not this body, I am a spirit soul, and the spirit soul is supposed to engage. But he has these previous habits. And because of those habits, he is not able to control. And that is what is mentioned. Even the vipashchita, who's trying to control the senses, will find it difficult to control them. But then what should he do? So that is answered in the next verse. Tani sarvani sanyamya yukta asita matparaha vashehi in yassendriyani tasya pradnya pratishtita. Who wants to read? Yes, Shanti Mataji, please go.
One who restrains his senses, keeping them under full control, and fixes his consciousness upon me, is known as a man of steady intelligence. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. So this is the first time in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Shri Krishna has talked about Bhakti Yoga. Though Srila Prabhupada has been presenting the highest knowledge from the beginning, in every purport Srila Prabhupada refers to Bhakti Yoga. But here, Lord Shri Krishna himself is actually talking about Bhakti Yoga for the first time. How? He's saying, Tani Sarvani Sanyamya Yukta Asita Matparaha. Matparaha means in relationship with me. So he's saying, one who restrains his senses, keeping them under full control and fixes his consciousness upon me. So specifically, he has referred to himself as the Lord. He's saying that if you actually engage your senses in my service, then it is easier for everyone to control their senses. If you just try to restrict your senses from the sense object, for some time you will be able to do, but over a period of time you will give up. It is like a person who's having some disease, and when you are not well, the doctor may say that, oh, don't eat this, don't do that, or don't drink this. And at that point in time, the patient has to restrict his senses. But is he happy about it? Absolutely not. Is he thinking about it? Absolutely yes. When somebody is saying that, okay, don't eat ice cream, then the children or whatever the patient, even the adults, will keep thinking about ice cream. Oh, I'm not eating ice cream. I'm not able to get ice cream. Like that, they will start thinking. So they are unhappy that they have to restrict their senses, and they are always thinking about the sense enjoyment. So this is, if you just focus on restriction, then you will not be successful. So what we can do, we have to engage our senses in Lord Shri Krishna's service. And only if we try to engage our senses in Lord Shri Krishna's service, only then it is possible to be successful. And let us read the example of how Ambarish Maharaj used to engage his senses. So there are some verses which are mentioned in the purport. And after that, the paragraph starts from King Ambarish fixed his mind. Who wants to read that? Pamendra Prabhuji, you have raised your hand for reading.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes, please. So King Ambarish fixed his mind.
We're just sorting that online manual, Prabhuji. I've got
Okay.
that downloaded Bhagavad Gita.
No problem. Surananda Prabhu, you can go ahead. Or did you find
I
it?
can do it. Yes, Prabhuji, I find it.
Yeah, please go ahead.
While contemplating the object of the sense, a person develops attachment for them.
No. We are reading the purport. Pamendra Prabhuji. We are reading the purport of 61 below the verses. Savaya Mana Krishna Padara Vindayor. Below that.
Yeah. That the highest conceptions of yoga perfection in Krishna consciousness is clearly explained in this verse. And unless one is Krishna conscious, it's not.
Pamendra Prabhuji, sorry. We are just reading from the paragraph, King Ambarish fixed his mind.
Sure, Prabhuji. I'll do that now.
Okay.
King Ambarish fixed his mind on the lotus feet of the Lord Krishna, engaged his words in describing the adorn of the Lord, his hands in cleaning the temple of the Lord, his ears in hearing the pastime of the Lord, his eyes in seeing the form of the Lord, his body in touching the body of the devotee, his nostrils in the smelling the flavor of the flower offered to the lotus feet of the Lord, his tongue in the taste of the tulsi leaf offered to him, his legs in traveling to the holy places where his temple is situated, his head in offering obeisances unto the Lord, and his desire in fulfilling the desire of the Lord. And all these qualifications made him fit to become a Matpara devotee of the Lord.
Yeah. So here from the example of Ambarish Maharaj, we can see how we can actually engage everything in service of Lord Shri Krishna. And we can see that how Ambarish Maharaj used his mind, used his hands, used his ears, used his eyes, used his mind, everything in Krishna's service. And this is a perfect example of how we can engage our senses in Krishna's service. And earlier, Devika Mataji had given that example of Durvasa Muni and Ambarish Maharaj. So here we can see that Durvasa Muni he got agitated. Even though he was a yogi, he got agitated with just some simple provocation. It was not even a provocation. He actually just some simple thing that he saw, that Ambarish Maharaj has broken the fast before offering food to him. And because of his pride and his own thing, he thought that, oh, he shouldn't have done that. And he wanted to kill Ambarish Maharaj. So he became angry immediately. So Krodha took over him. But even when there was no mistake of Ambarish Maharaj and someone was trying to kill him, he just accepted it as, okay, Lord wants me to get killed now, I'll accept it. And through that, he actually finally became victorious. And Ambarish and Durvasa Muni had to actually ask for forgiveness from him over a period of time. So this was possible because, or Ambarish Maharaj was able to control his senses because he's a Matpara devotee. He's using all of his senses in service of the Supreme Lord. And that is why it is possible. And in this verse, if we see, there are 3 points which are mentioned, which are very, very good for practicing devotee. How to succeed in restraining our devotees. It's restraining our senses. First is restrain, which is like a tortoise. We have to keep the senses and the sense objects away. But that is not the entire thing. The second point is fix mind on Krishna. Because the desires are not only coming from outside, that you see the senses are seeing the sense objects, and then the desire comes. Sometimes the desire comes from within because we have had that before. And even if we are trying to keep the senses away from the sense objects, because of the previous experiences we may have, the desires may come from within. And then we will just fall down. And which is mentioned in 62 and 63 verse, which we are going to see. So that is why it is mentioned, fix mind on Krishna. And that is how we can conquer this. So 2 things. Keep the senses away from the sense objects and fix our mind on Krishna. If we do these 2 things, then it is possible to restrain our senses. And our Krishna consciousness process is exactly based on these points. How do we restrain? The 4 regulative principles have been given, which are no meat eating, no intoxication, no illicit sex, and no gambling. So that is restrain part. And then fix mind on Krishna. How do we do that? Chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So every day we should chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and by which we are trying to fix our mind on Krishna. If we do this both together, that we are following the 4 relative principles, as well as we are trying to fix our mind on Krishna, then we can conquer the senses. But the conquering the senses is just a small victory. Main important thing is we will achieve Krishna Prem. But those who are not trying to fix mind on Krishna, but they are trying to fix their mind on some sense enjoyment, what will happen? So that is mentioned in this next 2 verses. But it is 8:30 already. Should we actually take up these 2 verses and then finish? 5 more minutes?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, let's actually do these 2 verses so that this at least section of Kim Asita will be completed. Let's read these both verses together and then we'll read the translations. ध्यायतो विषयान् पुंसः सङ्गस्तेषूपजायते सङ्गात् सञ्जायते कामः कामात् क्रोधोऽभिजायते क्रोधात् भवति सम्मोहः सम्मोहात् स्मृतिविभ्रमः स्मृतिभ्रंशात् बुद्धिनाशो बुद्धिनाशात् प्रणश्यति. Who wants to read the translation? Oh, so many hands have gone up. So who hasn't spoken yet? Yeah, Devika Mataji, you haven't read it yet, right? Okay, you can read.
While contemplating the objects of the senses, a person develops attachment for them, and from such attachment, lust develops, and from lust, anger rises.
Yeah, next one as well, you can. Oh, sorry. Next one, there is other hands. So Tripti Mataji, you haven't also read yet, right?
From anger, complete delusion arises, and from delusion, bewilderment of memory. When memory is bewildered, intelligence is lost, and when intelligence is lost, one falls down again into the material pool.
These are very beautiful verses, 62 and 63. It explains the mechanism of how we become angry and what happens after we become angry. But before we go there, so how these verses have come? So Krishna has asked us to fix our mind on him like matpara. But if we are not fixing our mind on Krishna, but if we are fixing the mind on something else, what happens? These are the 2 verses which are explained. But the learning from that previous verse was that how do we control the senses? Control the senses by giving, by giving them higher taste, by engaging them in service of the Lord. So this is very important to understand. Now coming to the 62 and 63, how a person falls down. This is the 8-step process to fall down. We don't want to fall down, but this is how we fall down. So first thing is contemplation. Dhyayato vishayan pumsaha. So what happens is, let me just consider this for a moment. We think, I'm not actually a sense enjoyer, but let me just consider it. And as soon as we dhyayato vishayan pumsa, sangas teshu pajayate. Attachment develops. I like it. The previous memories come out that, oh, when I used to do like that, then I used to enjoy it. And then attachment develops. But then, sangas teshu pajayate, sangat sanjayate kama. Sanjat sanjayate kama means lust develops. I want it at all cost. Because this is the process of mind working. Mind is thinking, then the feelings are like attachment is developing. And then the willing, I want it, that has come up. So then what happens? Krodhat bhavati, kamat krodho bhi jayate. When the lust is there, you want it at all cost and you are not getting it. Then the anger comes. Or we are thinking, who can stop me from getting it? And that anger is coming. Now, when anger has come, what happens? Let us look at that. When anger has come, delusion. Krodhat bhavati sammoha. It actually creates a confusion about what is good and bad. Sammoha smriti vibhramaha. then our memory is gone. We are forgetful of what is good and bad. So in the past, we would have known that this is good, this is bad, but now the memory is gone. And then Smriti Bhranshat Buddhi Nasho. Buddhi is also gone now. Loss of intelligence. So loss of intelligence means what is good, we will take it as bad, and what is bad, we will take it as good. And Buddhi Nashat Pranashati. Then such person will fall down. And everyone has experience of this. When we are angry, we do not understand what is good and bad. At that point in time, we forget. The memory is gone, right? Bewilderment of memory. We forget what the person in front of us, what good things that this person has done. There may be a very good friend in front of us, but because we are angry on something, we forget everything good that this person has done, and then we speak so harshly because a loss of intelligence has happened. Bewilderment of memory, we are deluded, the memory is gone, and the intelligence is gone. And that is why we do so many foolish things, which the angry person, when he calms down, repents about all of them. At that time, none of this is working. The memory is gone and intelligence is working. That is why many people say that if you are angry, don't take any decisions, because you're never going to take right decisions when you are angry. Who can actually take right decisions when you are deluded, your memory is gone, and your intelligence is lost? No one. That is why when you are angry, let yourself calm down. And then that is why people say the sleep over, right? Sleep over this. So why? Because then you will become calm and then you will be able to take right decisions. So this is how we fall down from Dhyayato Vishayan Pumsa to Buddhi Nashat Pranashati. So we want to make sure that we do not come to this stage. And the only way possible to stop on this fall down is the contemplation stage, Dhyayato Vishayan Pumsa. At that point itself, we should stop ourselves. If we stop ourselves at that point, then it is possible that we can stop ourselves from going to this downward fall. And we should actually always keep our mind engaged on Krishna. So we'll stop here. Anyone wants to summarize this quickly? And we will not take any questions further. But Tripti Mataji, you can actually look at the purport of 63 and possibly to answer your question that you asked before. Maybe actually I'll quickly mention about that. So what purport is saying here, or Srila Prabhupada is mentioning here, is that anything that we have, we should try to utilize in Krishna's service. And that is the right detachment. Detachment doesn't mean that you have to give up everything. So it is not that when you become a devotee or Krishna conscious, you have to give up your job, you have to give up associating with the people around us. No, you have to still go to work. They're going to talk about something rubbish anyway, or you have to actually keep doing some activities which are seemingly not Krishna conscious. But if we engage everything in Krishna's service somehow or the other, then that activity also becomes the process of bhakti. And while going through Bhagavad Gita further, and where Krishna talks about more and more about bhakti, we will cover that. So that is how we can actually make sure that while remaining in material world, we can utilize everything in Krishna's service, and that is the right kind of detachment. Okay. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Who wants to summarize? A very brief summary, not an elaborate summary. Anyone wants to volunteer? No one? Okay, Surananda Prabhuji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, today we discussed about Sthita Prajna's characteristics and how he responds to ups and downs of the world. Then how he can restrain senses. So in 2.55, so we discussed about what are his characteristics. He has given up all varieties of desire for sense gratification, which arise from mental concoction. He finds satisfaction in the self alone. So he's free from attachment, fear, and anger. And in 2.57, we read further Oh, sorry. Sorry, Prabhuji. How he respond is what I said before, and the same thing we covered in 257. He is unaffected, whatever good or evil he may obtain, neither praising it or not despising it. He is firmly fixed in perfect knowledge. And, 258 to 63, we discussed like how he restrains senses. So he's like a tortoise, how tortoise takes all his limbs inside if there is any fearful situation. So likewise, Sthita Prajna person, if the situation is not in Krishna consciousness, so he will take out all his senses in, and he will not focus on that discussion, or even though he is around with non-Krishna conscious, but he may not be putting his consciousness on it.
Yeah,
on the
good.
topic.
Any other points that you want to add, Vidushi Mataji? You had raised your hand earlier.
Yes, please,
Duma
Prabhuji.
Mataji.
I
Yeah.
wanted to add the point of Ambarish Maharaj, who did use all his senses in the devotion of Krishna. So he would clean the temple, see Krishna, hear Krishna, smell Tulsi, and everything. So all his senses in Krishna's service. And the last part, which is the Dhyayato Vishayam Pumsa, the 62 and 63. So it starts with contemplating, then goes to attachment, then want arises, then lust arises, and when you don't get it, then you get the krodha, so anger. And when you get angry, you lose your intelligence, memory, and then you fall down. So the 4 steps there.
Okay, excellent. Very good. Stop here. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Hare Krishna.